The occasion, I was asked to curate an event and kicked it around for a while. And then I saw a book called The Lifespan of a Fact, which raised certain questions that had occupied me and some other people I know for some time. And this book it's a very strange book. It's the record of a conversation that went on for 7 years between a fact checker and the author of an article. And so the book is structured with the essay and almost Talmudically commentary around it. And some of the commentary from the fact checker, when it's in black, he agrees. When it's in red, which is most of the time, he's disputing either fact or interpretation. And then you're getting responses from the author, which are sometimes short-tempered. And so I thought that this is a really good occasion to examine what it is we expect from nonfiction, what it is we should be demanding from it, and not just nonfiction. We'll segue into fiction.
My generation grew up, my generation of young writers, students, grew up believing, for the most part, that Robert Frost was an elaborate hoax portrayed upon the literary world, which was to say that the sage, venerable, good-hearted, wise New England poet was a persona, that in fact Frost was misogynistic, misanthropic, angry, bitter, blah, blah, blah. 20 years later, I think it was about 20 years, a later biographer picked up the story of Robert Frost and revealed that the initial biographer had been having an affair while writing the book with Frost's woman. If you want to go Oedipal, and you want to justify and rationalize your own behavior, you're going to demonize the person that you are victimizing. You are going to make him a bad person to justify and rationalize your own conduct. That famous 3-volume biography that permeated our understanding of Frost was a function of a really complex personal dynamic.
You could still argue, I mean, and we have been arguing, that what we're pleased to call nonfiction, for whatever we think of as having a direct relationship to the world in a way that fiction doesn't necessarily have, except Guys, which is now I find true, and I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. But I can't unread the books, and so. But is it naive to think that way? I mean, is it naive for us to think that something labeled as nonfiction should necessarily have that relationship?
Yes,
to the
it
world?
is. Yes, it is.
And I don't think so. So we'll disagree.
Okay.
It's naive to think that it could be absolute, but I don't think it's naive to aspire towards it.
What is the intention of the writing? What is it getting at? Is if the intention of the writing is to elucidate the history of the civil rights movement, then that's one thing. If the intention of the writing is to question our capacity to create truth, and then that's a different thing.
Can that be done in a novel?
Of course it can be done in a novel. Of course it can, and that's what I'm saying. It's up to the writer to sort of, once you have the material, how are you going to shape this material in a way that you communicate effectively to another human being? And then we have all the tools at our disposal as writers, all the strategies of narrative structure, of character development, the tension, the rhythm of the language. And one of the tools that we have is the ambiguity or not going there at all, just labeling it fiction and sort of springboarding from there. But one of the tools is the ambiguity of does this refer to actual events? And I think that ambiguity can be really interesting.
All right, so then
but
we're not disagreeing that much.
No.
So that it seems to me what you're arguing for when you say that we have all the tools at our disposal and a writer can argue for the impermanence or sometimes the intransigence of truth, but you're also agreeing that there are places where we can't do or shouldn't do that. We're back to the ethics of writing. We
Well, and
shouldn't
we're
play with
also-
what really
But we're
happened.
also just back to, are you a good writer? A good writer wouldn't go there. A good writer would say, these are my constraints. I am constrained by certain facts, by certain events. And how do I, given these limitations, how do I take the material and make it something powerful?
You're saying good writer or an ethical writer?
Good writer. A good writer is an ethical writer.